We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday night weekly show for the Tigercast. Round 1 is upon us. We've finally made it. All the practice match bullshit can be pushed to one side now, so the real stuff now kicks off this Thursday night, gents. EJ, welcome to the show. How you going, mate? A well-lit EJ, might I add.
Yes, I know. Very, very rare appearance in full light. I'm going great. How are you guys?
Going well, thanks. Loving the background there. Can you talk us through it?
Oh, well, we all know what has happened since the fateful day that those clowns that we're playing this Thursday night put this banner up 3 times, 1, 2, 3. So, let's hope that this is the start of number 4.
Absolutely. So, what a banner, though, to bag his haircut. Pretty, I don't know what they were doing there, but CV, welcome, mate. Lovely background for you as well. Talk us through it.
Yeah, mine is just Barmy performing a random act, well, not a random act, but actually just another act of violence during his career, elbowing a Carlton player in the head. So EJ's pointed out we think it's Jeff Southby. So, hopefully there's a bit of that on Thursday night.
Within the rules.
From Barmy.
And my background is, there we go. I just found a quick one on Google there. Hint of silver in the new rig. No silver. Well, maybe in the beard I've got silver, but not in the hair. What's up with that, Mickey? You a Carlton supporter, are you? We'll get that shit behind off. Anyway. Hope everyone's been doing well. We are obviously a couple of people short again tonight. Tiggs is still recovering from concussion. He reckons he'll be right next week. We'll put him through a concussion protocol test, and we'll see how that goes.
I think he's going to have to start as a sub.
Yeah, he might have to. We'll give him the best.
Yeah,
but hopefully he's doing well, because that's been what, 4 or 5 weeks now. That's crazy. And Grock still, I think he's got to try and find earbuds. I'm not sure what his status is there, but hopefully Grock's feeling better. I know he was having some migraines the other day as well, but hopefully all going well. Good to see some listeners in the chat. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. To kick off the show, first and foremost, before we get into the talk about the Carlton game, for those who did see my post on Facebook and or on Twitter, a shout out to Nick as a timely segue here. We will be joined at some point in the next few weeks by the one and only Richo, which will be absolutely massive. Big thanks to Nick for organising that for us. So Richo will be a returning guest. So he has been on the show a few years ago, but to have him on with the visual medium as well, I think will be really good. So it might only be for half an hour, but we'll definitely make the most of that. And we'll work out what to chat to old Richo about when the time comes, but that should be an absolute cracker.
Should be unreal.
Very exciting.
All right, let's get stuck into the big stuff. Obviously, practice matches all done now. We've got Carlton Thursday night. Are we at a little bit of retribution here? I think last year I was a little bit dirty that we lost that game, but the Blues were hot to trot. They've got a bit to prove. I think a lot of people are tipping them to sort of be around the 6 to 8 mark, maybe a little bit higher. Interestingly, today, or was it yesterday, Mick Malthouse and there was Josh Jenkins was another one who come out and said that we're going to be ones to slide out of the 8. So Josh Jenkins might still be a bit butthurt from the 17 grand final at Adelaide. But what do we make of, I suppose, firstly, those kind of comments from someone like Malthouse about us falling out of the 8? Is he just trying to make himself relevant, EJ?
So did Corn, by the way.
Did he really?
Yes. Now I know that's shocking to hear. Okay.
I'm shocked to be here. Yeah.
So that was on SEN, and he did the subject of the segment with Kingy, and Kingy's picked us to finish 3rd, I think. And Kingy's big on Richmond, but yeah, Corn. Where did he? Corn had us nowhere near it. He didn't even mention us as being one of the 2 teams to slightly miss. So what do I make of it? I actually had this down as one of my questions. Is there any way that you guys can see us missing the 8? Because I can't. I can see us finishing in the lower reaches of the 8 if things don't go to plan, but I can't see us missing the 8.
Injuries to key personnel is the only way we can miss.
Yeah, but we've covered that for 4 years.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you're asking how.
Yep.
So the only way I can see it is the injury toll is that significant. It's about the only way.
And never forget that not this time last year that Mick Moldhouse said that the Bombers were going to win the premiership. So let's not take too much stock into what he says.
Also, once said he couldn't see Carlton losing a game. It's when he was coach at one point. I agree with CB though.
Well, the media, the AFL media it's actually too big. There's too many pundits in there in an opinions game. So they've got to do something to get some clicks or say something outrageous to draw people in. I mean, the reality is if you were honestly trying to pick the top 8 right now, in reality, it's probably a top 12, top 14. There's probably only 4 clubs or 5 clubs that you could legitimately say, I don't think they're any chance of making finals. Anything else, you're just talking out your ass. And that's just how I see it.
What you said is right. There's probably only 4 or 5 teams that can't make it. On the flip side, there are probably 3 or 4 teams that are a guarantee to make it.
Yeah, correct. 100%. So there's a backlog of 8 clubs trying to get 4 positions. It's a question of where your club falls in amongst that lot. So, I mean, you look at Collingwood. Collingwood could have another great year or they could slide. Sydney, absolutely pathetic in last year's grand final. They've got some great kids, but I'm just saying, I don't think, not trying to be anti-Kane here, but I can't see Port, St Kilda, Essendon, North. There's 4 clubs that I can't see making finals.
Okay, there you go. I've got Port in the 8.
No, I don't see it.
But there you go. But that's exactly how wide open that 6 to 8 or 5 to 8 is. It's exactly that. You can't see it. I can see it. That's the spread of that mid-8 teams that we're talking about.
Yeah, and just on Josh Jenkins, it's actually really impressive that he's popping up now. As it must have taken him 5 years to find him after he went missing when he turned up to the MCG at the end of September in 2017. He was missing for a long time.
He was.
So, good on you, Josh. Good on you for turning up, mate. Fantastic.
But to your point, Steve, I think, and same with every team, not just us, but it's the injury front that'll tell the tale. Like our list, I feel, is already reasonably sizable, which is a little bit concerning this time of year, especially going into round 1 with someone like a Prestia who may not be or probably not likely to be at 100%. But I know we've got a bit more coverage this year for injuries and things like that. But if we keep a semi-healthy list on the park and we get our game plan sort of up and running as we have previous years, there's no reason why we shouldn't finish in the top 8. And I think we said a while ago with a fit, full, healthy list that anything outside of sort of a top 6 or top 4 with a full list would be almost a fail. Like on paper, it's a pretty good team.
So
I know we don't play on paper, but
Paul West has put a comment there. Put that one up, please. Down the bottom. Yeah. So even that, there's already articles coming out talking about coaches who won't see the year out. And it's just it's outrageous. It is
outrageous.
You just don't know. I mean, it's like what was that movie? The Deadpool, that Clint Eastwood, the final Dirty Harry, the Deadpool. It's like we're banking on death, betting on it, and it's just.
And when that started, when they death rode Terry Wallace, right? He was hunted for 18 months nearly, right? The industry of having a coach in the gun is never going to end. And it is really disappointing, even when it's one of our foes or whatever, for them to constantly have a coach in the gun for no reason other than they need to create clickbait and media is really disappointing.
Well, Dennis Pagan said it best. There's only ever 2 types of coaches: blokes who are currently in the job or blokes about to be sacked. It's a fact of life.
And the coaches aren't going to last forever. And Dim has said that a few times as well. Like there will come a time where his time will come, whether it's on his terms or otherwise. But give him a chance though. We're not even at round 1 yet, and people are getting coaches out the door.
Just on EJ, mate. There's some comments coming through about his colour. He did make mention to me that he was a fan of Terry Walsh's coaching back in the day, and there may be a couple
100%.
of sun lamps on him right now.
100%. I don't know what it's done. Anyway, I actually sat next to Plough for two Cox plates in a row at Yarra Glen Racecourse and had a good chat to the great man, who is an outstanding citizen away from the coaching venue. And maybe some of his tan has accidentally sort of come across. And now that I'm in the light for the first time, it's being exposed.
On this one quickly, Jacko, Sonsy's done nothing wrong. He was just recovering from a hip flexor injury, I believe. So that's why he didn't play in any of the practice games. So he's kind of just working his way back into getting some match fitness up before they roll the dice with him. But if I was a betting man, I feel like we will see him in the earlier parts of the season when the right time pops up for him. So no, he's done nothing wrong. It's just coming back from an injury situation for him. So
he's actually back training with the main group. But the most exciting news for us was the news of Dion Prestia getting through the training session within the last 48 hours and pain-free. So strapped it, no pain. So just fingers crossed, Dion, you got 2 more days to get through. Because to be honest with you, mate, if Dion doesn't play for us, it nearly tips it in Carlton's favour. That's how important he is to us. So
I just watched Dimmer on 360 before coming on, and he's basically declared Dion as a starter.
Yep, beautiful.
So we're right there. The other interesting tidbit that came out of that is that currently now Dimmer is the longest-serving current coach in the game.
Jeez, we haven't been able to say that for 40 years.
Yeah.
is it right?
Yeah, so obviously, Clarko's had a break. So
Of course. Yeah,
with Clarko having a break, Dimmer is the longest-serving coach in the game.
And just on Terry Wallace, and you can watch it on YouTube, do yourself a favour, if you've never seen this documentary, there's a documentary called Year of the Dog. And it's when Terry Wallace takes over from, who was the ex-Hawthorn coach that went to the Dogs and then Wallace takes over? Joyce? But it...
What's going to hold my cup here?
What is happening? I
don't know. Every time I put my cup up, I go back to normal.
So do yourself a favour. If you want to YouTube a wonderful doco that was done in the early 90s when Terry Wallace took over the Western Bulldogs, and it was sort of the first of its kind with cameras behind the scenes, that unbelievable watch. Highly recommend it. It's awesome.
I'm a bit distracted by EJ talking with his camera.
Well, it's the cup. Look, I'm normal. I'm not. I'm normal.
I don't know what's happening there. That's quite bizarre.
Neither do I. Anyway, let's not get distracted by that. Let's go.
No, that's all right. So did we want to do what we think the starting 20 or our best 22s will be first, and then sort of work from there, guys? Is that what we think the best way to do it is?
I think so, because then we can sort of try and talk about the matchups down the line. So I think you being the host, Michaels.
I'll get my phone out because I've got it on here. I was at the zoo today, so I was typing it on a bit of a sit down break at the zoo. That's how professional I am. All right, so my 22 for Thursday night, I've got Broad, Grimes, Baker, and I actually left Grimes out at one point. Rioli, Bolter, Vlosten on the half-back line. McIntosh on one wing. I've got Ralph Smith on the other wing. I just think pace. I'm saying that Pickett's not going to play. Otherwise, if Pickett was fit and had the practice, he would be there 100% of the time. Half-forward line, Bolton, Lynch. I've got Juddy Clark on the half-forward line. Rioli Jr., Rewalt, Martin for the full-forward line. And then Curvis, Ruck, Taranto, Hopper in the middle. And on the bench, Cochin, Miller, Cumberland, and Young. So I've gone with three quicks up front because I just from what I saw for the Kangaroos and North Melbourne practice games, we were too slow and the ball was coming out of there far too quickly. So I think we need to get that speed and that chase and hunt back into the forward line. So that's why I put Juddy Clark there. And obviously Ralph Smith adds a bit of toe as well on the wing, who can play up both ends. Baker can play up both ends. Yeah, I had Dan Rioli on the half-back line, Tiger. Had him there. Sonzi is still recovering from injury warrant, so that's why he's not in. But I think he will make his way back very shortly. So, but yeah, playing Cumberland, Miller, I think will play as the hybrid ruckman who can also go into defence, like he did last year. And Young might play as well, I think, is what we were hearing. So that was kind of more based on what we've been hearing rather than anything structural, I suppose. But yeah, that's what I've got for the 22. Who wants to go next?
I'll follow you up. I'm hearing that Young is going to play as well. So let's see what happens there.
Lucas, he wasn't. I've got him on the half forward line. Maurice Rowley Jr. He was on a forward pocket. He was there. He was there definitely.
Yep. Back line, I've got Grimes, Bolter, Vlosten. Halfback, Rioli, Young, Broad. Centre line, K-Mac, Dion, and Hugo. I agree with you, and I've got a reason for that. I'll back that up in a minute. Half forward line of Cumbo, Jack, and Dusty, and a full forward line of Rioli, Lynch, and Bolton. Followers, Nank, Hopper, Taranto. Interchange of Cochin, Miller, Baker, and Clark, with Dow as the sub. I toyed with Clark on the wing, but I went with Hugo, assuming that Pickett isn't fit. Same thing. I don't think Hugo has as much to give as what Clark does, and I think being that defensive wingman, keeping the shape, he's got the running power definitely. But I think Clark is going to end up more that Lambert type, and he's going to give us that inside and gut running. And so I've got him on the bench, and then he can plug and play where required. So I think Hugo might start on the wing as well.
Espo, Jack Graham's coming back from a medial, but apparently he's training with the group again. But he injured a medial in his knee Thursday week ago before the Melbourne game in a training session.
Ross is close.
Yeah, and Ross is training as well. Yeah. Just for Jack's Zoot, who's watching, if you want a cricket doco, watch Fire in Babylon on the West Indies. That is an absolute cracker if you like cricket docos.
Before you do your CBs, Cat confirming Short is ruled out with that calf strain. So that's why I suppose EJ and I haven't had him in because
100% he's out. Yep. And was confirmed again. Yep. So he is out.
Yeah. So my team from the back line is Baker, Miller, Grimes. And Miller has been training with the backs since him and Young have both been training defensively since Tarrant went down with his hip flexor. So not beyond the realms of possibility. So I'm saying Baker, Miller, Grimes, half back line, Vlosten, Bolter, Rioli. My centre line is K-Mac, Taranto, Judson, Clark. Half forward line of Bolton, Rewalt, Cochin. Full forward line of Morris Rioli Jr., Lynch, and one Dustin Martin. My rucks are Nankervis, Hopper, Prestia, with an interchange of Broad, Ryan, Cumberland, and Hugo. And for my emergency, I have Mansell or Dow. So that's
Samson Ryan. So that's probably the big. So the big point of difference, I suppose, is you've got Ryan in as best 22.
Well, if I've got Miller playing defensive, yes.
Yeah. So I think our backlines are all fairly similar. They all have the same common theme there. I suppose the mix-ups all came about from the wing down with what that looks like. That's where the Pickett miss or loss sort of comes into play, trying to work out who plugs that hole. But I think the key for us is making sure we get that forward line balance right. If we go in there and we're too slow, I think the Blues, and not just them, any team, are going to be able to run it out too easily. So I'm hoping the coaching staff learnt quite a bit from the two Pracky games with what does and doesn't work, because it was quite clear to everyone watching what doesn't work. But yeah, I'd be going at least 2 to 3 quicks up there to help out.
Especially when we've got to combat, we know Sard's going to be running out of the defence.
Yes.
Newman as well, but Doherty is a great distributor as well. So he doesn't move it fast by hand, but fast by running, but he moves it fast by foot. So they have got multiple ways of getting out of their defence very quickly. So we do need to have something to combat that, yeah.
Sorry, you said Sard. I heard poor man's Basher Hooley.
Oh, burn.
Look,
Kmart Basher.
We're not sure about Pickett. We're kind of speculating that Pickett's out because we haven't really heard much positive news that he's going to be playing, I suppose, is the train of thought. If he's fit, I think we would all have him in on the wing.
Yes. I think he's more likely to miss than not. And I'd be saying for Pickett, you're probably looking at round 3.
Yeah, I think Sonzi, Pickett, yeah. So Sonzi, Pickett, and Short probably round 3, I reckon. They'll get a couple of runs.
Yeah, they'll have to get some runs on the board.
Yeah.
Sentimental, just for anyone who's joined late. Sonzi's recovering from a hip flexor, so he's back up and training, but they've just got to keep working through that and getting back to full fitness. So
there'd be no doubt he'd be in all 3 of our 22s if he was fit.
Yes,
100%.
Absolutely. Categorically would be in. Nick said, confirmed by Richo that we are looking at peaking early rounds, not round 1, so games will be tight early.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a chat to Nick during the week, and we may have something go the wrong way of the ledger early on, but from round sort of 3, 4, 5 onwards, motoring. But we still want to win. We still want to win the first couple of games, but this is about building into the season, not being red hot round 1 and falling over in round 18.
It's just one of those things that they call it the heavy training load as they kind of try and time. Is that what we're going with, that old chestnut?
Heavy training load.
We're tapering for a preparation.
Yeah.
That's why when I play over 35s footy, mate, my hamstring blows out in round 2 because of training loads, yeah.
Those 16 ounces won't lift themselves, CB.
Correct. The old knees are putting up with a bit of weight on top of them now.
So now that we've gone with our lineups, the Blues, EJ have named a couple of debutantes as well.
Yes.
So they got Hollands coming in who will play on the wing, you reckon?
Yes, I've actually got a predicted Carlton lineup.
Oh,
which is one person wrong because from what I saw on 360 tonight, one of my halfback flankers won't be playing. But if you take McGovern out of this is roughly how they suspect they're going to line up. So a back line, Sard, Wiedering, Newman. Half back line, McGovern out, so plug Plowman in. So Plowman, Young, Doherty. Centre line of Akers, Cripps, and Hollands, the new guy on the wing. Half forward, Fisher, Curnow, and Chera. Forward line of Motlop, McKay, and Durden. Followers, Pitnet, Hewitt, and Kennedy. And an interchange, DeConning, Silvani, O'Brien, Cowan, and a 5th person to replace McGovern. That's roughly how they're looking.
I would seriously, if I was Carlton, I would actually ruck DeConning ahead of Pitnet.
Agreed.
He's going to be a superstar in 2 years. They've got an absolute jet on their hands with that DeConning kid. He should be starting right now. He's a gun.
Magpie 71. That was fantastic.
All right, so some interesting names there. And they've got, as much as we want to hang shit on, they do have some handy players that have torched us in previous years. Their biggest omission for them is obviously Walsh. That's a huge out for them at any time of the year. But Cripps is always going to be dangerous. But what about their 2 forwards? We've got Mackay and Curnow. Now, I think it's no secret, even though on paper our defence reads great, for some reason we've been leaking quite a lot of goals last year and even into these practice games. I think it's a little bit to do with midfield pressure rather than the backline themselves. But with Curnow and Mackay, I suppose 2-pronged question: who's taking them as a matchup, and how do we help quell the influence to make sure that they don't get easy ball?
We have to go back to the system where we're playing a 7-man defence where we can. So we really need Nick Vlosten as that intercepting defender. And the reality is to take those 2, it's 3 people. It's either Young/Miller, and it's Bolter. And Bolter has to take Curnow because Curno's more mobile, whereas Mackay's a very big boy. So the bigger one has to take those two. So if Young plays, Bolt will probably have to take Mackay. If Miller plays, Miller will take Mackay and Bolter takes Wedring is how I see it.
This is why I believe that both Miller and Young are going to play, is that they're going to have the three options for the two key forwards. And Dimmer tonight on 360 did state that if we were to play one-on-one with their key forwards, we're going to get slaughtered. It is a team defence. And, someone immediately brought up the name Vlosten. He started laughing. Yes, we're going to have Vlosten and Grime and Broad and these sort of players come across, help out, chop out or whatever. But that's the reason why I think that Young might play, is because it just gives us an extra option. So say we don't pick Young and Miller gets torched early, we don't have a plan B. And I believe
what about
with
Grimes?
Carlton,
Is he too slow now, Grimes, do you think, to go with one of them?
Yeah, it's like me reading my notes through the screen. One of my big issues in our defence this year is, has Dylan Grimes lost that half a yard? I wasn't wrapped with his preseason games for that reason. He can still be a functioning part of the back line, but I don't know if we can depend on him as much as what we have.
Yeah.
So team defence, and then to go further into that, CB, how then important is it that the midfield get on their bikes and do that two-way running, which we saw absolutely zero of in that Melbourne practice match? And I know it's a practice match and that's okay, but if we carry that same work rate forward for any amount of time, they are going to slice us and give Mackay and Curnow some easy ball.
But that's where Taranto and Prestia are absolutely key, because those two are absolute. Like Dion Prestia's two-way running, I know Richmond people value it, but it just seems to go unnoticed by the wider population. But those two, their two-way running is absolutely critical. And now that we've lost Lambert, who was the third piece of the puzzle, that's the interesting one there. And keep in mind with your wings, when we talk about our wings, K-Mac's normally your defensive winger, and Marlon's normally, he does both, but he's more offensive. So I think you're probably right. It's going to probably be Hugo on the other wing. K-Mac will be the defensive winger, and I think Hugo goes a bit the other way. So keep in mind that as well, when we talk about the midfield rolling back, the wings are very important to our rolling structure as well.
Yeah, the pick is going to hurt us, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just with but you got to back Hugo in, I suppose, or whoever it is that plays that role. So there are other midfielders. It's going to be a good battle. This is where I think Taranto and Hopper are going to prove their weight in gold. Cripps obviously a gun. Cheryl's going to play through the middle. Again, the $1 million question. Cripps is probably going to get 30 to 35 on a pretty good night. Do you have someone I don't want to say tag, because I know we don't do it, but at what point do we start to try and curb his influence and things like that? Or do we just go head to head with our guys and back in someone like a Taranto to make them hurt the other way?
You're never going to stop Cripps. Not many players can stop him. Not many teams can stop. So I don't know. I think in this case here, it's going to be a pretty hard and fast game, to be honest. I can see it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. EJ?
If we had Jack Graham, I'd say, okay, we can have a run with, not a tag, but a run with. But with the current setup, I'm going to go all Dimmer and just back us in head-to-head. And so, look, let's be honest, out of both midfields at the moment, on pure grunt and everything, Cripps is probably number one on both sides. Yep. But if you look at the depth of both midfields, like Carlton are missing Zach Williams as well as Walsh.
Yep.
We're going to have Dion, Hopper, Taranto, Bolton, Cochin, Dusty. Their midfield, I don't think, Baker as well going through. Their midfield doesn't bat as deep. And if we think back to round one last year, we were going okay, and then we lost Prestia, and we lost all structure in the guts and we ran out of steam.
Yeah.
We can, over the course of 4 quarters, wear them down with the depth of our midfield versus theirs at the moment.
Welcome, Hilda.
Yes, welcome all the way from the NT. And I agree with that, EJ. And to CB's point as well, that it's going to be I suppose, a quick, hot game. How important is it that we get off to a good start, or more importantly, don't let them get off to a flyer? Like, I think I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where they kicked like 7-8 goals in the first quarter. Was it 2 years ago?
2 or 3 years back, where they got those 50-metre penalties in the first quarter. And yes. Oh, man, that was
so we'll touch on. We'll touch on. Oh, he's just lit up red at the flu.
He's gone orange again.
He's lit up. It's angered him.
Hang on.
We'll get to the.
Oh my God.
Get to the discipline point in a second, but yeah, how important is it to make sure that they don't get off to an absolute flyer, and what can we do to help curb that? Because everyone's going to want to score quickly early. But the one thing that's worried me, especially last year, is when teams kicked a couple of goals, it didn't feel like we were able to stop the run on. That teams were able to kick 4, 5, 6 goals in fairly quick succession, which kind of knocked us out of most games. Or we'd work our way back in and just fall short.
That was the point of getting Hopper and Taranto in, to improve our midfield depth, to address our inability to win midfield stoppages and clearances. So that in itself, if those two can work it out and it works out, that will address part of that need.
And on the discipline side that you brought
Damien, I don't know what you're talking about. I know nothing about Donald Trump. I've got nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Nan Curvis, he's a big guy. He's an angry guy. Angry. He's angry.
He is huge. He is huge.
Huge.
Oh, I wish I wasn't bloody orange.
So with the discipline, it's no secret that our discipline has been shithouse over the last few years. Even in the practice match, Bolter threw a guy to the ground. Cochin did his stupid thing. EJ, I know you're banging on about this all last year. It's something that we can control. So what are we looking for? For me, it starts with Nank and Grimes being the co-captains, because they were kind of the big offenders in games last year. And it kind of feels a bit deflating when that happens. I know there's one thing to try and be physical and fly the flag, but it's the unnecessary dumb shit that we do, that we're giving teams free meters, free goals, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. I want Nank to be physical. I really do. So I know he's going to give away free kicks. But it's about, we all know we're going to give away free kicks, and we can't control everything. But there are times when where they lose their heads at the wrong time and at the wrong place. Like Grimes giving away a dumb free kick, that's a shot on goal, right? If Nank gives away a ruck infringement, throwing a defender, a key forward from the other side out of the way in their forward 50, it's a shot on goal. If you are going to do something to show your strength, I know you can't tell them everything, but don't do it in their forward 50, for God's sake. Their forward 50 is where we get killed.
Well, yeah, their forward line's dangerous enough as it is. We don't need to be giving them any extra freebies.
Can't agree more, sentimental bloke.
Yeah, attacking the ball when it's contested, that's it.
Yep.
You want to see guys cracking in, head over the ball, Koch style, when the hard ball gets early.
Yep.
CB, someone raised a question. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, just like that. Just like that.
Just like that.
Someone raised a question before, CB. Who wins the ruck battle? So the ruck battle, obviously, important part of the grounds. More importantly, who do we like? Are we categorically saying that we don't think Soldo will play this game?
Yeah,
I know we don't actually know the answer, but are we strong vibing that it won't be him?
I'd be surprised.
Like I said, if Young plays, like there was a question raised about who our rucks are. I think earlier, one of the early shows, we said we think our rucks are going to be a horses for courses approach. So maybe it will be a Soldo and Nankervis versus Gorn and Grundy, for example. But in this case, where it's more of a, De Koning's he's learning his craft on ruck work, and Pitney is a ruckman, then we can go with a Nankervis Miller / Samson Ryan hybrid setup, I think, which will make us a bit more mobile around. So all we know is Nankervis is our number one ruckman, and then whatever else happens around that is probably more of a horses for courses approach, and depending on injury as well. Is that fair?
No, that's fair. A good question here from Todd. Do we think it's going to take time for Hopper and Taranto to gel, I suppose, get used to our game structure and style, which is going to be obviously a little bit different to what they were doing at the Giants, EJ?
Well, I think Hopper and Taranto have gelled with each other quite well if we go by the waxing in the pre-season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is going to take some time at the start of the season, but you'd like to think that the pre-season hit-outs against each other, the intra-clubs, plus the 2 pre-season games, that hopefully it's not going to take more than 1 or 2 weeks of misunderstandings in pressure situations. We've just got to get through that first couple of games where it doesn't work out because the communication's not there. They're smart footballers. They'll learn very quickly after that where to be, who does what, and all that sort of stuff. It won't take long, but it might take 2 or 3 weeks.
The other thing as well, old Magpie 71, a.k.a. Blue Lips, a.k.a. Phil Narkle's helmet. Just thinking of you there, Tiggs. Miss you, man. He actually gave us mail a couple of weeks ago, again, about the fact that those two have really adapted to the game plan quite quickly. And I guess we will see that. The proof will be in the eating, I guess, on Thursday night. But the mail around the 2 guys, Hopper and Taranto, is they are adjusting to the game plan very, very, very quickly.
Do you think this might be a simplistic view, but do you think it's easier for midfielders to adapt with the whole see-ball, get more mentality, rather than if you're a key forward or a key defender trying to fit into actual structures and rotations and leading patterns and things like that?
I think so.
No,
there's enough line. You go, sorry.
No, there's structures in midfield as well. Like everyone has to be where they need to be and move where they need to move when the ball is bounced and stuff like that as well. It's probably a bit more 360 degrees in the midfield than what it is down back. What it is, if you're down back, you've got your structures, but the ball is in front of you and it's coming towards you. In midfield, you've actually probably got more to cover.
More variables to deal with.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, if we've got a ball up in the in deep forward, essentially our forward line is an on-ball division in itself. So you'd expect Taranto and Hopper and those guys possibly to be back from the stoppage as part of locking it in, whereas you've got Dusty, Bolton, and Cochin around the pill. So I don't know. It's gonna be fascinating to see how all that works.
That's a good
one
point
thing
too.
we did see with Taranto around forward line stoppages, he's very smart at positioning and being able to get a shot on goal too. So, interesting.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, the 450 stoppages, because we're gonna be able to leave players further back to set up a wall essentially for a blast kick out to put it straight back in. So we don't lose any quality. We're not relying on mids having to play to run, all lengths of the ground to get to those 450 contests. We can just leave those forward guys to do their thing. One of the questions raised quite commonly in here, gents, was our forward 50 entries or our work forward of centre. Previously, we've been big fans of bombing the ball long. I'm waiting for EJ to turn red here. There we go. Right on cue. Thank you. We've been bombing the ball in quite a lot the last few seasons, and I don't think it works. Like, as much as I love Jack and Lynch, staying there putting your arm up in the air, I think it takes away from how good their natural game is when they lead up targets. Do we have to adjust our style, or do you think we're going to be persistent with this, CB? Are we going to still see... I think there will be times we will blast kick it in there, don't get me wrong, but I think we look a better side when we're leading to the guy kicking it.
I hate static forward lines. It drives me absolutely apeshit. However, we were the second or the highest scoring forward line in the league last year. So I think it's a question more of how we're setting up behind the ball when it goes in and how it comes back out. So again, I'm just going to wait and see before I really have an opinion on it. We're going to know more Friday morning or 10:30 on Thursday night. We're crying in our beers or celebrating with them. We'll see what happens.
Okay,
Not sure Min and what all this call is for a belly dance if Taranto wins a Brownlow. I won't be doing anything like that. My God. Dusty, how do we think, or what do we think now that we're down to the round one starting point? Are we going to see, do we think, him play a lot more forward than midfield?
Yes.
What's the ratio? If you have to take a stab at what you think the ratio of forward versus midfield is?
70 or 80% forward, 20 to 30% midfield.
That high, you reckon?
Yep.
I was thinking 60, 40, 70, 30. Yep.
No, I was listening to Dimmer tonight, and I honestly believe that there's going to be a lot of one out sort of. There's going to be. It sounded like he was more prepared for Cochin to go in to the midfield in the break glass than Dusty. It sounded like.
Tell me everybody's clearing out and we've got Dusty's paddock. Tell me that's how this is going to work.
How good would that be? How good would on orange again? It would be unreal to do Dusty's paddock. That'd be unreal.
It was almost set up a couple of times against Melbourne. So when Dusty was playing as our deepest forward, he was still standing inside the 50, even though May or Lever were still about 25 in front of him. So he was hanging back. We were just not running anywhere near quick enough to get a quick counter-attack to actually utilise it. But if that's going to be his starting position when the ball's down the other end of the ground and we do get the transition football happening, that's going to be a nightmare for whoever his defender is. If he's going to be 25 metres in front and we can get a couple of link-up plays, get the ball to the wing and launch it over the top, that is a scary prospect for any opposition defender.
Just picture in your head when there's 90,000 people at the MCG and it's in the Carlton's half forward line. We get a turnover and we move that with shotgun, we slingshot that ball through, and all of a sudden you look down the ground and there's Dustin Martin on Doherty or something. Can you imagine just that roar that's going to go through the ground? It's going to be amazing.
Do you know what? I can't wait for Dustin Martin on Darcy Byrne-Jones when we play Port.
The All-Australian Darcy Byrne-Jones.
All-Australian. Oh, what an embarrassment.
We haven't let that go. We won't. We will continue to ride that one for many years.
Never let it
go. The other couple of players we'll talk about quickly. Cochin, obviously, we're riding him home for 25 goals this year in the fight against Kane Corns. We do have a couple of things lined up for if he does start to kick some goals that we'll share on the show and on our socials, so keep an eye out for that. My concern is, though, gents, is the makeup of players he's in the forward line with. Like, we can't have him, Cumberland, Jack, Lynch on all at once occupying that front half of the ground because we're too slow.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be – this is where I think Koch will still play some decent midfield minutes because him playing forward is going to depend on who's accompanying him. So I think we can only do it when there's maybe two other smalls down there. Does that sound reasonable?
Yep. And I think that's what Dusty was getting at. Not Dusty. That's what Dimmer was getting at with Dusty playing more forward and Koch being more of a plug-it-in sort of a thing. Okay, so not to disparage Koch in any way, shape or form. Chimp is a champ. We love him, all that. But if Koch is one out in the forward 50 or he's in a forward pocket in a forward 50 with a defender, or if Dusty's one out, who is going to draw more attention to them, get other players pulled out of positions and stuff like that? Is it going to be Koch or is it going to be Dusty?
Yeah,
right?
It'll be Dusty.
Right. Because so it's not just the fact that Dusty is one out and other defenders get drawn in. That pulls other things away. That disrupts the structure of the opposition, right? Koch is not going to disrupt the structure of the opposition. What do you got written? What's up that, CB?
I will be at the barbecue with the M9 boys and girls. Yes, I will. I'll be there on Thursday night for sure. Have a beer ready, Mick. I'll be there.
Oh, okay.
And I suppose the final play, I've got 2 more questions. I'll ask them, throw it open. If anyone else in the chat's got questions, feel free to start sending them through. One is on Maurice Rowley Jr. Obviously, we know what he's going to give us up forward with his electric pace and whatnot. Will there come a time this year, do you think, that he will start evolving into a part-time midfielder as well? Because I would like to see him in there, maybe not this early, but I think there's some merit in him harassing a few people in there. Or would you rather see him just full-time half forward and just nail that role?
I think there's others ahead of him, mate. I think Sonzi's ahead of him. Bolton's ahead of him. I could even see one day, Judson Clark may be spending time in that midfield in those rotations. I just think there's other players ahead of him before Maurice Rowley Jr. goes in there. Even Baker. There's a lot of players who can go in there. That's just my take.
Yeah, fair enough. And Tom Lynch, the last one. So he's probably the big spearhead for us. I don't want to say it all rests on his shoulders because that's a little bit unfair, but I think for us to do well, a lot rests on him playing at a good level all year. And he's got to be moving, got to be leading and making the most of his opportunities. But he needs to keep his bloody discipline in check as well. He's another one. I love when he plays angry. I love that he plays close to the edge. But even in that Melbourne practice game, I think he gave away 250 metres from a kick in from the behind because he was encroaching or doing something stupid. So how important is his role to the side in the forward structure, EJ?
Oh, it's incredibly important. If he plays like he does last year, that's terrible English. If he plays like he did last year, right, if he plays all 22 games, he wins the Coleman and he's All-Australian. The fact he wasn't All-Australian is a joke, but let's move past that.
Mm-hmm.
If he plays like that and we get Dusty back into the forward line, the knockdown effect of having to look after the gorilla that is Lynch means that, you're going to get the second man across and all that sort of stuff. If he plays as good as what he did, every other forward in our forward line will benefit from it. And we will kick more than what we did last year. And then the only issue for us then is, can our defence hold up their end of the bargain? Because I'll guarantee you we'll be one of the top 3 scoring sides again this year.
I'll ask you as a question. And again, we're only crystal ball gazing here to the audience, so please don't hold us to this. What's a successful return for Jack Rewalk this year, in your eyes? What's, say, average goals per game? So go an average per game. What would you like to see from Jack?
1.2 to 1.5.
Yeah, it's hard for him this year. I don't even think it's about goals for him this year if Dusty's playing up there. I know that sounds silly because he's playing as obviously a forward, but you'd like to see him kick at least, still 30 to 40, somewhere around that mark. I know that might seem on the higher end, but but to your point earlier, he's going to be one who benefits from this Dusty up forward situation. And if Lynch is doing his thing, and then by extension, Cumberland is going to maybe be another player who takes advantage of it as well. But I reckon 30 to 40 goals, CB. Would you say that's a pass mark?
I'd be, if he could jag again, if him and Dusty alone can jag 2 goals a game each. We know Dusty will score more some games, but that's nearly 100. That's you're talking 90 goals between 2 players alone, excluding Bolton, excluding if Cumberland can get you 25 to 30, Lynch can get you 50. It's a very powerful thing. So, I think if we can just get that spread going, so it takes the pressure off Lynch. That's what we need, that spread. So you need Jack getting a couple, you need Dusty getting 2. We really, and the midfield. Taranto will help our midfield, because that's one thing in the last couple of years too. Our midfielders haven't really been scoring a lot of goals. So if we can get our centre line scoring more, that will help us tremendously as well.
So how many goals did Cumbo score in his games last year?
I think he bet 16 to 18, wasn't it, in 4 games?
Yeah, close.
So let's say we put the mark down at Lynch for 60 goals, right? Instead of labelling Dusty at this goals or Jack at that goals. If we get Jack, Dusty, and Cumbo together to kick a combined 70, and we've got Lynch's 60, well, we're well on the way, aren't we?
I'll be hoping for more than that.
Yeah, I would say that's
130 goals between those guys. That's not. Bolton kicked 43 goals, 43 or whatever it was. Ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to add those goals onto that. You've got to add Rioli's goals onto that. You know.
Good call.
Sorry?
That's a good call about the grouping them together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just calm down. Don't go orange on me, mate. Don't go orange.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Fired up.
This is killing me. You know what? I have said for all of last season, I never get any shit. I don't know how I cop. I don't know how I dodge it. So there you go. It was about time.
Your time is done.
You grew a beard. You look like Alex Jones.
Welcome, June. Long-time listener, first-time texter. Kane's got a question, so we'll go through some listener questions now. Say we lose Jack or Lynch, who comes in for them?
CB.
I'd say Ryan gets first crack at it as key forward. But again, there's some serious raps around Bradkey. But I would have to say, and Bowers in a moon boot for the record, you might have just come out of it. So I'd say right now, if one of those blokes goes down, Samson Ryan's the logical choice, or Ben Miller goes forward and plays key forward, and Ryan comes in as the ruck. Either way, that's how I'd see it.
Well, I did throw it to you because you named him in your round one side. So if you didn't say that, I'd be very disappointed.
I'm consistent, if nothing else.
All right, I'm just going through to see if there's any other questions. I don't think there's anything else there. Are you both going on Thursday night?
Yes. No, Thursday nights don't work for a country boy like me. So
I won't be. I was hoping to, but it's just a bit too tricky with the young fellas as well. But
I'm a country boy. Hour and a half from the game, hour and a half from Melbourne, but you know, I'll make the effort. It's all right, guys. I'll make the effort.
You fly the flag for us. Is it a sellout? Have they said it's pretty much sold out, or is there still tickets available? I don't think I've heard one way or another.
I was on the way to being a sellout. It's about last night. I reckon it's going to be the members that don't. Will be the only reason it won't be a sellout. Usual story. I saw as well the other day, and this has to be incorrect, that the temperature for Thursday was going to be 35. Is that right? Is that still accurate? 30.
Hang on.
Jeez, 35. Fuck.
I'll just consult Jane Bunn, shall I?
Yeah, very good. 90K, Tigers calling. So Cameron just said general admission sold out. Okay, that's interesting.
No, Thursday, top of 27, lower 17. So probably be about 20 degrees Thursday night.
Very lovely.
All right. Well, make sure, and I know this will sound slightly hypocritical given that I can't go, but make sure anyone who can get there does get there to try and fill it out. It should be an amazing atmosphere. It'd be good to get off to a cracking start to the season, knocking off Carlton. I think we owe them one from last year, but I think it's going to be a tighter game than what we would like, as whether we like it or not, they do have some good players and they are playing, well, they were last year playing some good footy. So if based on natural trajectory, they should probably be looking to take the next step, and it'll be a bit of a tussle, but we'll get a prediction nonetheless. Oh, actually, no. I've got one more best 22 to read out. I'm so sorry. I forgot to do this. I had this tweeted through to me. Wait. I had someone send through what they want their best 22 to be. How's this for winding back the clock? A best 22. Stephen Ziller, Garthwaite, Clay Sampson, Egg Melissy Smith, Gordis, Lennon on the half-back line, Hyde, Polo, Tambling.
That's a strong centre line.
Hang
on. Tim Fleming. I actually like Tim Fleming. Cleve Hughes, Billy Nichols.
The Cleveland
Is he out of jail?
CB, full forward line. Arts, Kingsley,
there it is.
And for the followers, we've got Angus Graham, Danny Meyer, and Oakley Nichols. Interchange of Patterson, Fiora, Hislop, Helbig, and Troy Taylor sub.
Brad Helbig. There's
That's
one.
A blast in the past. Thank you to the tail for sending that through, mate. That was very funny. That
what happened to Matt McDonough and Liam McBean? Stiff.
Oh, McBean. Jeez, we had we had
McBean
all
watch.
our eggs in that. But Jaden Post, we had our eggs in that basket as well.
Oh,
All right, we'll get a tip including margin, gents. Ricky Pettard stiff. Yeah.
I like Ricky Pitt. I need a crack. You
Yeah,
know
he
what? All the duds we got, he actually was. He was serviceable.
Yeah, he was all right. All right, EJ, tip including margin for this one. Well, everyone in chat as well, put your margins through.
Ben Nason stiff.
Ben Nason, yeah. Oh, yeah. Good. As I said, the exact same time that you said that. There you go.
The issue with this game is I see that both teams currently have the same weakness. Our backlines, the Carlton backline and our backline, are where we can both get hurt. I'm hoping that our midfield gets over the top. So I do expect a high-scoring game. I'll say both teams to score over 90 points and we win by 7.
Win by 70. Asta, 175 goals for the Tigers. We'll take that. That'll tick off all our goal kickers in one game. CB or Dexter? Is Dexter, are you doing some type of big prediction?
Look, I think the free kick count will be 22-14 Carlton's way. I think
are we going to do that again this year? Do we do an official free kick tally for every
dangerous game?
We absolutely should.
I think we'll have 6 50-metre penalties against us, but be the recipients of 2. And I think that the real headline of this will be the return of the King, Dustin Martin. And I think the Tigers will win by 4 goals. Martin himself will kick 4 snags.
We'll take that. That would be an amazing return. What about what we need to do? How many snags is Cochrane going to kick? Don't worry about Dusty. How many snags is Cochrane going to kick to get us closer to that 25?
2.
2 for Koch?
I'll give him 1. I'll give Koch 1.
I would dearly, if he's going to kick 1, please let it be the very first goal of the season. It will cause so much outrage. It will be just worth its weight in gold.
I hope he drives his elbow into someone's throat, but doesn't make contact with the head and just get another fine.
Now, listeners, do we have any touring car fans out there? Because I'd like to thank Mark Scaife for his 1-goal Cochrane prediction. You've got a bit of Mark Scaife about tonight's CB.
Oh, here we go. Shut up, Alex. How's that Jan 6 committee going?
I think Cochrane will kick no goals this week.
Oh, no goals. Okay. I reckon we'll win by 16 points in a tight one. I think we'll lose the free kick count 23-15. And I'll go Cochrane 1 goal 2. That would be, I will take that. And that way we can use our little graphic that we've got on next week's show. That's all I'm really worried about. So.
June, bought this shirt years ago. Don't know if they're still producing them.
Yeah, they still are producing them. They still are, because as we spoke before the show, I was actually going to duck off for a quick costume change and join you in solidarity. I got mine probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah,
that's a good shirt there, CB.
Thank you.
Right, thank you for joining us, gents. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in tonight. Much appreciated. To Tiggs and Grock, hope you're both feeling better soon, and we'll potentially see you both next week. Other than that, hopefully the boys get up on Thursday nights. What have you got, CB?
Tiggs will only make an appearance if we win. He's a downhill skier, that guy. That's all I'm saying. If we lose, he'll be nowhere near the show. Oh, concussion.
Guy 71.
Imagine watching the Carlton game on Friday night.
Imagine the shit he's going to cop for his first show back. It's going to be amazing. And yes, Nick, again, mentioning that in a few weeks' time, Richo will be joining us for about 30 minutes. So make sure you keep an eye on our socials for that announcement and confirmed date and time. It should be an absolute cracker. Huge thanks to Nick for getting that organised. Hope everyone had a good night. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hope to see all of you at the game on Thursday night. It should be a cracker, and hopefully the Tigers get over the line. So we'll see you all next week. And until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.